Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports. And as you can see by the title, today we're going to be looking at some film on Ja'Marr Chase. So we're going to hop straight into it. So if you look at this first play right here, you look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They're lined up in a 4-receiver set. They have Ja'Marr Chase lined up in the slot, which is on the strong side of the formation. For those who may not know, the strong side of the formation is where the biggest passing threat is at. So he's lined up on the 3-receiver side opposed to the single high side. It looks like New England was playing some type of man coverage. Maybe might have been some type of split coverage because they have a 2-high safety look, but it could have just been a man coverage with Ja'Marr Chase. And like I say, that's one of the things that makes a lot of these receivers so great nowadays is that they're very versatile, meaning that they can line up in a multitude of different ways. And the more that you can use a receiver in terms of lining up on the outside the numbers, inside the numbers, in the slot, possibly in the backfield, it makes it very difficult for a team to be able to double team and key in on them. So when we think about Ja'Marr Chase, right, and we think about top receivers, so a yin and yang for Ja'Marr Chase is the fact that you still have to account for T. Higgins. So when you're dealing with a team that has 2 number 1 receivers in a sense, it becomes very difficult to try to be able to match up with those teams because you can't double team Chase because then Higgins will eat you alive. You can't really double team Higgins because then Chase will eat you alive. And if you try to say, okay, we're going to try to figure out some way to try to, double team the both of them or to try to design some defense to try to strategically take away the both of them, now you're leaving gaps in other places. It could be on the third receiver, or it could be even your running back being matched up on linebackers in pass situation. That's probably not something that you want to do. But on this first play right here, it's the 2nd and 4 play, and he just gets behind the defense, and makes a good first down conversion. Obviously, they're behind on the scoreboard, so those are things you want to look at to see how competitive the player is. It's easy to be dominant. It's easy to be competitive when you guys are up and when things are going right. Now, the true winners and the true competitors, you see when things aren't going right, how hard do they compete? And with guys like this, regardless if they're up on the scoreboard or down on the scoreboard, he brings in the same level of competitiveness, game to game, play to play. So that's always one of the good things about him. But obviously, you see right here, he's able to get a big explosive play and eat up a whole bunch of yardage and put them in a better position to put points up. So on this play right here, you see it on a previous play where we had Ja'Marr Chase lined up on the strength of the offense. This time he's lined up on the weak side of the offense. So the strength of the offense this time, just like the last time, is on the left side of the formation where you have the 2 receivers and you have a tight end. So most time defenses, when they come out, they're going to align their defense based off of how the offense is lined up. So obviously, a lot of focus is going to be put on the strength of the formation because that's where the biggest threat is at, because you got 3 receivers on this side, whereas you only have 1 receiver on the opposite side, which is Ja'Marr Chase. And let me see where the running back was lined up. So the running back was lined up on the side with Ja'Marr Chase's too. So it depends on if he goes out for a route, which he eventually does. He goes out for a little check down route. So, it's kind of a 3x2 set, but you have number 26 matched up on Ja'Marr Chase on the top of the screen. So it looks like at first I thought that maybe they was in the cover 0 because you see 10 men in the frame, but the 11th person I think is deep downfield. And even on his catch right here, you see that eventually he comes over. But I mean, it's too late and it's impossible. Number 35 right there. It would have been impossible for him to even play over the top of that just because of how skinny that route was towards the sideline. So it really was in a position to where he wouldn't have been able to affect that play, honestly. So they leave him matched up 1-on-1 with Ja'Marr Chase. Why in the heck would you want to do that? I have no idea. And this is kind of one of those gotta have it situations. I know a lot of times when I say gotta have it, we always talking about 3rd down and we always talking about 4th down. But if you look at it, they're down right now and they need some type of spark, and it's in the 4th quarter and time is steady raining down. So guess what? When it's time for a play to be made, who do you go to? You gotta have it, guys. And in this case right here is Ja'Marr Chase. The cornerback, I don't think that he gets physical with him at the line of scrimmage. He allows for him to have somewhat of a clean release, and he just kind of really beats him. And Joe Burrow puts it in a position to where only Ja'Marr Chase can make a play on it, and you end up getting a touchdown on that play. So this was another gotta have it situation. This was a 3rd and 4, and this play right here just kind of summarizes how horrible the Panthers were last season. So they have 4 receivers lined up on the opposite side, and they just had Ja'Marr Chase singled over here by himself. I have no idea what was going on this play defensively from Carolina. It looked like it wasn't really no communication, and it just was a lot of poor I wouldn't even say fundamentals, man. I just would say effort. Like even right here, you look at the safety that's right here. He's going to bail out for whatever reason. I don't understand why. Granted, it was 4 receivers, so it might have been something he saw coming, but he bailed out. He just threw his body into him. Number 40 just put a sloppy effort. The other guy that come behind number 40 gave sloppy effort, and Ja'Marr Chase just did Ja'Marr Chase things and, took a play that was supposed to have been maybe a 10 to 15-yard gain and turned it into a explosive touchdown down the field. But that's the type of big play capability that you have with a guy like Ja'Marr Chase, and also too just kind of being aware of the defense that they in. I'm pretty sure he was aware that they was in some type of zone coverage, so he found the soft spot within that zone, just sat down in that spot. Joe Burrow found him, and poor tackling, poor communication, and just poor effort on the Carolina end. Cincinnati was able to capitalize and march the ball down the field and get a touchdown off of this play. So on this play right here, this was just good timing on this play call. As you see, they sent a 5-man blitz. So they didn't cover one. Cover one meaning that they only had one over-the-top safety, which was number 32, which I believe is Marcus Williams, who plays that horribly. But they got the numbers on the outside lined up on the 3-receiver side, where they ran kind of like a little out route, and they was able, and the whole goal of that was to get the tight end and number 83 matched up on those 2 defensive backs to get a block and allow for Ja'Marr Chase to be able to possibly run after the catch. So the linebacker on this play I would say probably took a kind of a bad angle on it. I mean, maybe if he would have kind of came over the top of it a little bit more, then it possibly would have minimized it. But he kind of took a bad angle and kind of, underplayed it. I wouldn't say overplayed it, kind of underplayed it. And then number 32, Marcus Williams, I don't know what he was doing that play. Took a bad angle coming downhill, and that allowed for Ja'Marr Chase to be able to have a lot of opportunity to run after the catch. And, what I'm noticing with him, the trend is it's a lot of explosive plays, down the field, whether it's over the top of the defense or whether it's underneath, and just him being able to catch the ball quickly and make plays with his legs after the catch. So this play right here, too, is just an embodiment of what a number 1 receiver does. So on this play right here, you got a red area possession, obviously. But the thing is, we're going to get this one-on-one matchup on the outside. We're going to match up our best receiver with y'all corner, which in my opinion, I don't think that that's the Browns' best corner. Obviously, it would be Denzel Ward. Now, Denzel Ward could have been on the opposite side of the field, or he could have been hurt, or he could have been out of the game for that specific play, and Cincinnati just took advantage of it. But right here, you have Ja'Marr Chase matched up on the outside. Obviously, it's a back shoulder throw, so there was, and by it being in the red area, everything is kind of congested and, smushed together. So the threat of an over-the-top safety kind of isn't really present like it would be if you were, at midfield or anything underneath that. But right here, everything is so congested tight together. So the safety wouldn't have been able to get over the top of that. Anyways, even if he did throw it over the top, but on this play right here, they threw one of the most unguardable passes in football, and that's a back shoulder fade on this route. So the corner, for the most part, played it the best that you possibly could have played it. You might want to say, okay, he probably could have got a little bit more physical at the line of scrimmage to try to slow down the timing of that route, because those small seconds does help, especially if you have a pretty effective pass rush. And we do realize that Cleveland has one of the best pass rushers in the NFL in Myles Garrett. So that's the only thing that you probably could have said. But at the same time, it's a risk with getting physical at the line of scrimmage, because if you're not able to successfully get a jam, then he really beats you over the top quicker than he would have done on this play right here. So it goes from a possible back shoulder pass to just an over the top in the corner of the end zone, and that would have been a touchdown regardless. All right, so here on this play right here, we got another, what you would probably consider a gotta-have-it moment for most offensive coordinators, especially when you get down into the red area, especially this close. You preferably want to come off with a touchdown opposed to 3 points. Granted, a score is a score, and anything is good, especially at this point of the game where it's tied 0-0, but you perfectly would want to come off with a touchdown. So once again, we go back to the versatility of Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, we've seen him win matchups on the outside. We've seen him win matchups on the inside. Now we've seen him being able to line up in the backfield as a running back and able to win a matchup right here. And one of the things, like I said, I like the most is just the versatility, especially when you get down in the red area. You want to be able to find different ways to score because everything is so much more congested and clustered together. So you want to try to get a little bit more creative down here. And on this play right here, I think the Eagles initially held it as good as you can. It was just that not Ja'Marr Chase, but Joe Burrow was able to get out of the pocket to extend the play, so the pass rush wasn't able to get there, and he was able to direct traffic right here. As you see, he's telling Ja'Marr Chase to kind of cut back in, and he was able to hit him with a touchdown catch. So good catch on Ja'Marr Chase and being able to go up at the high point of the ball, attack it. Don't allow the defender to be able to make a play on it, opposed to just sitting there and waiting for the ball to come. He goes up, attacks it out the air, and secures the touchdown catch. All right, man. So the final play right here, man. This is a work of art, and this is what you get when you have continuity, meaning when you have guys that's been playing with each other for 5 or 6 years. You just know how to react off of each other. So first of all, what allows this play to actually be able to work is Joe Burrow's ability to be able to, maneuver in the pocket and extend the play. So now Ja'Marr Chase shows his IQ to realize, okay, cool. This is the soft spot in this zone. So opposed to me continually running to where I end up eventually being picked up by somebody else, I'm going to sit down right here, and I realize that Joe is extending the play. So now once I sit down right here, I'm going to work my way back from the way that I just came, because you look at the guy that was on the outside, he has to drop down. I think that's Marlon Humphreys. He has to drop down to pick up number 87 that's coming in the flats on the check down route. So that's just kind of high IQ on that play right there, on both of their parts. For one, Joe Burrow being able to extend, but then Ja'Marr Chase realizing that he's extending and being able to make himself available. So on plays like this, these are the plays that when I talk about receivers or offensive players that can play on script and off script. On script means is when you come out, line up in your formation, do your pre-snap reads or whatever, and everything just goes perfect. You know what I mean? You're not having to extend. You're not having to do nothing out of the ordinary. You just lining up and running the play. Now, when you playing off script is when you line up and everything goes bad. The defense collapses on the line of scrimmage, pushes your offensive line back. Now your quarterback is running from his life back there, and now we're having to try to figure out how to makes the best out of a bad situation on this play right here. This is what you consider playing off script on the quarterback's end and on Ja'Marr and on the receiver end, which is Ja'Marr Chase. So I know a lot of people always talk about like what's the biggest difference between Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase, or who would you rather have out of Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase? And truth be told, man, I say, you can't go wrong with neither receiver. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. That's my honest opinion. You can't. But if you ask me, like, what's one of the biggest differences, I would say that one of the biggest differences is the guy who's throwing the ball to either receiver. With Ja'Marr Chase, you got a guy in Joe Burrow who's a phenomenal quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, who you already had prior chemistry with playing in college. Whereas with Justin Jefferson, you've kind of had to bounce between Kirk Cousins. You went into this season thinking there was going to be J.J. McCarthy. He gets hurt. Now Sam Darnold is thrust into that position. So when you look at plays like this, and I think the very next play after this play, it was a touchdown similar to that with Joe Burrow being able to extend the play. So these are things that Kirk Cousins might not be able to do. These are things that Sam Darnold might not be able to do. So it's not necessarily that Justin Jefferson isn't as explosive of a player or who can create these big plays down the field. He doesn't have a quarterback who can extend plays long enough for him to be able to do that. I do believe that these guys have similarities in their game. I do believe that these are guys that can run every route on the route tree. I do believe that these are guys that can make plays after the catch that has the potential for yak yardage. I do believe that both of these guys are guys who can stretch a defense, meaning who can hurt you deep, meaning that you have to try to cover more ground whenever you're dealing with these guys, which open up for other receivers or tight ends, running backs out the backfield to be able to make plays. So these guys bring similarities in their game. I think that you might hear people say that Ja'Marr Chase is a little bit more physical than Justin Jefferson, and I mean, hey, it could possibly be, but I see that both of these guys are able to make tough catches whenever they need to. Both of these guys are able to be counted on whenever it's a gotta have it situation, and both of these guys have an understanding of the game, have an IQ to be able to identify the soft spots in the zones and to sit right there and to give their quarterback a lane to throw the ball to them so they can make a play. So it's very similarities in the game. So for me, that would be the biggest thing. Is I just think that the ultimate deciding factor is the guys that's throwing them the ball. You know what I mean? Obviously, and having a guy like Joe Burrow throwing you the ball, having that level of continuity to where y'all know what each other is thinking helps out too. And just having a guy skill-wise who can create opportunities that the other guy wouldn't be able to create. So, I think that's the biggest deciding factor. But like I said, man, I would prefer to have either or, because both of these guys can win those one-on-one matchups whenever you need to. So to me, both of these guys are the embodiment of what you consider a top-tier number one receiver. That guy that, is just he's one of those guys that you have to plan for whenever you're playing these guys. These aren't guys you say, okay, we just gonna come in and wing it and whatever happens, we're gonna react. No, we're gonna come in and be proactive, because we know that if we do not come in and be proactive, these guys can cause a lot of havoc for us on the defensive side on the offensive side of the ball. So we got to make sure that we're prepared properly to try to, minimize the effectiveness of these guys, because these guys, they warrant so much attention that it allows for other people to be able to, operate. And then going back to that situation too, having another number one like T. Higgins, it takes away from the possibilities of double teams, just because you don't want to get hurt in one-on-one matchups with T. Higgins. But man, that's it for this video, man. If you guys did enjoy this video, like I always tell you, man, if it was something that I missed to cover on, or if it was something that you noticed that I didn't notice, man, let me know in the comment section. I'm always open to hear from you guys' perspective on things. But if you did enjoy this video, man, do me a big favor, smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure you got that notification bell turned on, that way you won't miss no uploads. And I'll see y'all in the next video.